We all know a shooter who is lights out in an empty gym, right? Practice shooter, as we like to call them, knocking everything down. And then you get them in a game or you raise the stakes, you put them in front of a crowd, put some pressure on them, and they can't make a shot. Now, sometimes it's mechanical. Sometimes it takes their mechanics are too slow. And once they've been sped up and put in a game and they've got to go up and down the court, then their mechanics break down, their rhythm breaks down, and their confidence is gone. But a lot of the time, at least at the pro level, it's not necessarily mechanics. It's mind. It's your mind. And it's that elusive flow state that some players and athletes aren't able to get themselves in at times, right? And there's a lot of creative ways to explain the flow state. A book that was recommended to me, I think PGF is a basketball trainer. Go look him up on Instagram. He had recommended a book, The Inner Game of Tennis. And the way that book explains it is we have self one and we have self two. And self one is our conscious mind. It's our inner voice. It's the voice that we have a hard time quieting, that talks us into things and talks us out of things, right? Self two is that elusive flow state. And I think we all get into it. It's just sometimes whether we're aware of it and can we do it when we need it, right? That's the big thing with athletes. And so the great performers, they can get themselves into a flow state in all different types of circumstances, right? That's what essentially makes them clutch down the stretch of games. And I'm watching this bubble, and I've already talked about my theory. LeBron has all but clarified it, right? The empty gym feeling. It's a different vibe for different players are going to, feed off it differently. Some guys we're seeing, I'm watching the Suns the other day and Dario Saric has had a resurgence. Now, part of that is he's in better shape. He's lighter, but some guys are going to be more comfortable without a crowd and that energy around them. And that allows them to get into that flow state. But I think for some of these superstars and some of these star players that are used to feeding off the energy, it's a different thing. Now, we all saw Dame Lillard miss those 2 free throws at the end of the game. I've also saw JJ Redick miss a bunch of free throws in this bubble. And so back to the flow state, self one, self two. I think ultimately what we're going to see is in a quiet gym, it's much harder for these good free throw shooters to get into self two, to get into the flow state at the free throw line. So once you're in the flow state, right now, your mind is quieted. And your body takes over, your muscle memory comes over, and you see guys with their routines, and everybody has their tricks to quiet their monkey mind, as the yogis will call it, right? Your self one when you're at the free throw line. But it maybe it doesn't make sense, but it seems as if a quieter gym is adding to the pressure. I get it. To me, it makes sense. When there's a crowd noise and there's people trying to distract you and there's noise, all of a sudden that loudness, that crowd, it's quieting your self one and your monkey mind for you, right? It's occupying that so you can get into self two and just let your body take over and shoot the free throws. And now all of a sudden in a quiet gym, it feels like there's more pressure. And so again, I think we're going to see a lot more missed clutch free throws down the stretch of these games in this playoff bubble. And it's going to go a long way in determining who wins this championship. Now back to Dame versus the Clippers, Paul George, Pat Beverly. Look, man, we know PG has been a wop.
That boy, Alchemy, the rudest in the game.
PG has been a wop. I've been said it. We know it. Just watch how he moves. And so, look, Dame is always ice grilling people, spraying in people's face from 30 like he's on Pornhub, right? So it's going to get pushed back. And I really have no problem with Pat Bev and Marcus Morris doing that because that's who they are. They stay consistent. But Paul George is a follower. He's a chameleon. He's going to do whatever's around him seems cool, right? If Kawhi comes out and says, yo, that's not us. We don't talk that trash. We let our game speak for ourselves. And Paul George is going to say that. Yeah. That's right. He's going to follow that. If Russ is dressing wild, he's going to dress wild with the Russ, right? So Paul George, watch out. You know I'm going to be partial and biased to Dame. But all that being said, I love it. I think it adds to it. For years and years, us older heads have been complaining about the AAU brand of basketball that we're seeing in the NBA, where all these dudes are too close. They're too much of friends, right? They're all boys, and it takes away from some of the competitive spirit and rivalry in the sport that we saw in the 90s. And so hopefully that bubble can bring it out. And like I said, that's fine. Dame likes to, taunt guys, and he does it in a very subtle way, but he's always ice grilling people, right? So he can talk that stuff. I think Paul is a lot more comfortable talking that trash when he's on the most loaded team in the league now, right? Kind of like what KD was doing, right? KD was doing that when he came to the Warriors. I think Draymond put the battery in KD's back, just like Beverly is probably putting the battery in Paul George's back. So it's a similar situation, and I'm here for it. You saw I spoke on the Kyle Lowry, Aaron Gordon little spat, and these guys, there's no avoiding each other now. They're probably running into each other in the hallways and all the setup there. It's only so big of an area. And so I think that's going to flush it out. And then there was something that, who was it? I think it was Jaylen Brown. I read a quote where he said, a lot of guys like to get away from the game and not think about it after the game. And in the bubble, it's in your face all the time. It's forcing you to think about basketball all the time. And so again, we're going to see more intense play. I think we're going to see more intense play, and we're going to see guys get a little more chippy. It's a consequence of being in this bubble. The one thing I will say as far as Dame goes, he's got to check the fam, right? His sister started getting reckless, and it's always a bad look. Let's keep it on the court. Let's keep it amongst the players. Once the fam, it looks weak, and he needs to explain that to his sister, who I get her mindset and that Oakland mentality. But what she doesn't understand is, in turn, it's kind of making Dame look weak. Like, he don't need his sister talking trash for him. Let him do it on the court, and let's keep it, because this is really basketball. I had done a video this summer about how basketball and hip hop are really synonymous, right? And the greatest draft class of 96 for both hip hop and basketball. But part of basketball culture is trash talking. So let it stay on the court, and I think we're going to have fun, and it's going to bring out better play and some special moments.
I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.